Good afternoon and welcome to the webinar for MyDriveHero. My name's Tim Eisenhower. I work for On Market. We're the licensed intermediary, the investment platform that's helping MyDriveHero with their crowdsourced funding campaign. The agenda today, it's going to run for probably 40 minutes, 45 to 60 minutes, somewhere in that vicinity. I'm going to give some details around the campaign, how you can get involved. Then I introduce the senior management team, being Blake and Josh. From MyDriveHero, who's going to give a short overview presentation about the company and about the opportunity. We're then going to move on to the questions from the crowd, and you'll see at the bottom of your screen an icon there with a Q&A with a question mark. Please tick on that or click on that and ask any questions, and I'll make sure that the guys get to that in their presentation. So just some details. MyDriveHero looking to raise up to $1 million from their crowdsourced funding campaign. Campaign at the moment is in what we call the expression of interest or EOI phase, going very well with 900, nearly 1,000 expressions of interest of people wanting to buy shares. Importantly, their campaign opens tomorrow for investment, what we call the private deal room period. So that's Tuesday, November 18. It opens to those that have expressed their interest already. So if you haven't expressed your interest and you're on this call or you're watching a replay, please express your interest and you'll be invited into that deal room. At that stage, you'll be given their information memorandum or their offer document, which you'll be able to look at. Please remember there's a limit on retail investors of $10,000. And if you wanted to invest above that, you need to be what's called a sophisticated investor. I'd now like to introduce the senior management team from MyDriveHero. That's Blake Robinson and Joshua Wong. Welcome, guys, and I'll hand over to you to run through a few things about your investment opportunity.
Well, thanks, Tim. Appreciate the intro, and thanks everyone that's attending. We appreciate it. As Tim mentioned, we've had close to 1,000 people express their interest to buy shares, so we're absolutely humbled. I'm Blake, one of the co-founders and managing director. And this is Josh, my business partner, other co-founder and general manager.
Nice to meet you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
So I want to get stuck into MyDriveHero. And before I get into what we do, how we do it, I want to start with why we do what we do. Now, unfortunately, the death toll, the road toll in Australia is rising. Myself, Josh, and our other business partner, Rick, we were plain and simply sick of seeing Aussies lose their lives, and we were sick of people losing their loved ones on the road. And as we know, these fear-mongering campaigns, these tactics to scare people just are not working. So what we did is we built MyDriveHero to be the opposite to what we currently know with road safety. We wanted to change the game. Unfortunately, about 8 years ago, someone near to our business partner lost their life by driving under a 300-ton mining truck and sadly lost her life. And that was where the straw broke the camel's back, and we decided MyDriveHero needed to be born. If we fast forward now, 3.5 years from going live, 8 years from R&D, we are now live in the market. We've done over 240 million kilometers, and we've improved road safety by 25%. We'll come to that a little later, but I really wanted to start by discussing why we do what we do and how important this mission and vision is. And when you're working for something bigger than money, the level of output, the level of dedication that we get from our team, our partners, our sponsors, our investors, our shareholders is second to none. Now, while it's a mission-heavy business, we absolutely prioritize revenue. And if we're just to go off the last 2 years alone, we raised 2 years ago exactly to this date, our first ever round. And since then, our shareholders have had a 300% ROI. This is the level of dedication that we show. And the mission is important, but so is the revenue and so is the ROI. Josh, do you have anything you'd like to add about the mission and vision and why you get up and why you work your butt off every single day?
Yeah, I think just a little bit on like my experience with kind of my corporate career. Before this, I was actually part of the first app for disability and aged care. And then before that, I used to run a support center for disabled and at-risk kids. And I think my biggest thing is, like Blake said, we can make money doing a lot of things, but let's make money doing something that's helping the world and saving lives out there and, you know, helping us prepare our future and a bit of a legacy play. So that's always been the biggest thing for me. And that's really what attracted me to MyDriveHero. And it's really exciting getting up every single day and watching people watching those kilometers tick up and watching people drive safe. So that really is the biggest thing that drives both myself and Blake.
Love it. Now, guys, we're just going to pull up a presentation here, just a bit of stuff to look at and read whilst we run through some stuff. So I'm just going to start by running through what the app actually does. We get that all the time. How do you record safety? How do you measure safety? How do you track safety? And they're all really good questions. And plain and simply, we all have phones. We all have smartphones. MyDriveHero wouldn't have been able to be done back in the Nokia days, but thankfully we've progressed to smartphones. And in your smartphone is that GPS. Now, we have the data of every single speed of every single road globally, and your phone is moving in the vehicle on you as you're driving. So we know what speed you're driving relative to the road speed. Now, as you can see here on the screen, in the third and fourth phone screens there is someone's trip. Now, the safer you drive, the more cash you get. We pay people money to drive safer. That money they can spend at Coles, Woolies, Ampol, Shell, BP, Bunnings, Kmart, BW, all of the major places people spend their cash, and then our partners as well. Now, in the third and fourth screen is a perfect example of an individual who didn't drive as safe as they could have, which means they didn't earn as much money as they could have. Now, we don't take money off people. That is the same scare, fear-mongering tactics that other parties use, and it isn't getting a result. What we do is show someone where they went wrong. If you see the little red dots on the screen Josh is pointing out here, this is showing the individual on every drive that they do the speeding error. So they were going 67 in a 60 or 44 in a 40 zone. This will show the error. This will then give them a safety score. And then this will then show them on their cash speedometer up the top here, how much money they got relative to how much money they could have earned. So what we're using is that psychology of saying, hey, we've given you something, a very little amount of money. This is where you went wrong, and this is how you correct it next time to get the maximum amount of money. And what we've seen from that is that positive psychology shift of an individual where instead of them getting angry that you took something from them, they go, oh, it's actually me that stuffed up here. This is where I'd be better next time. Now, back to what I said before about the road safety increase MyDriveHero has created. Now, 220 million kilometers is great in a very short period of time, but we want that to be 220 billion trillion, because when we get to those sorts of numbers, the question starts to become, how many lives did we actually save? At the moment, we're very, very proud of having over a 25% road safety increase. That is a 25% reduction in speeding errors and a 25% reduction in phone usage behind the wheel. And as we know, with the younger demographic coming up, I'm sure many people on this presentation right now in Zoom have kids that are either getting their L's, their P's, so on and so forth. They are absolutely one of the major targets and cohorts we are going after now that we've proven the model, now that a lot of the mums and dads have it. We have over 30,000 daily active users using the app, which are mums, dads, and everyone in between. And now we're starting to lock on to driving schools, so on and so forth. Some more traction here. I've mentioned the 220 million Ks, which is a very, very impressive amount of Ks driven. But outside of that, how do we monetize this? How do we actually turn this into revenue? How do we actually turn this into an ROI for your investment? And how have we already created 300% ROI for our current shareholders and investors? It's with the minutes of engagement. Now, it's all well and good to record someone's driving and pay them money, but how are we turning that into money back to us? And it's with that engagement piece. We've had over 185 million minutes of face, eyes, on screen of app engagement. We get around about a 6-minute 40 dwell time per day per user, and that's looking at the app, banking their trips. So when I say banking trips, if you're on this Zoom right now and you haven't downloaded the app and looked at it yet, you won't know that when you drive, we package up each drive like a little game with a golden ring. Click the button, and then when you click that button to see how much money you made, it'll be like YouTube, where you'll get served an ad or two, and those ads will be relative to the amount that you earned. Our technology will determine that to ensure as a business, we pay money out, but we also make more money than we paid out. That 185 million minutes of engagement there is so important, because if that was a zero, there would be no ads we could sell. There's no ad placements we could sell, and we couldn't build this big advertising business that we have currently built. Now, a little bit more on that. I just want to talk about a comparison to something else we may all know. Now, if you think about your favorite sporting team or one of the biggest sporting teams in Australia, your largest sporting teams will generate anywhere from 2 million to 2.8 million advertising impressions per month digitally. If we look at the last 30 days of MyDriveHero, we've generated 3.45 million impressions in the last 30 days. So you take your largest sporting club in Australia, all of their digital impressions, you take MyDriveHero's last 30 days, we are bigger than the largest in Australia. That is how much time and how many individuals are coming back into the app to bank their trips, which is allowing us to now unlock major partnerships like KO, Storm, Suzuki, HelloFresh, who are now paying us to essentially have advertising impressions inside of the app. Now, like I said, 30,000 active users, and a very, very big one is the subscriptions. Now, how do we also monetize this database and how do we monetize this app? You have your advertising like YouTube, and just like any company that does advertising in the tech world, if you don't want ads, what do? You subscribe. So we have 4,500, it's about 4,600 now subscribers, which is a very large percentage of the total 30,000 active users. Our premium subscription rate is much higher than your average app because people want that less friction. However, we are still able to monetize those users in a different location through the premium group that we sell as a premium to businesses as a higher converting ad source. And we have paid out, getting close to $500,000 to Aussies for their safe driving. And that is, one of the most important triggers that's actually creating the safe driving. Because if I go back 18 months ago, MyDriveHero didn't pay out cash. We were in version 2, and we used to pay points that could unlock discounts. In the growth between MyDriveHero 2 to MyDriveHero 3, which is the version we're talking about right now, we used to do around about 400,000 kilometers a month. We're now doing about 30 million. The jump in 12 months has been astronomical. We had less than 400 subscribers. We've now got over 4,500, as I mentioned. The growth in the last 12 to 18 months has been astronomical because we invested in the product and the technology and grew it to the point we grew now with major partnerships. Josh, is there anything you want to touch on this section before I move on to the next?
Yeah, 100%. I just want to kind of touch on a couple of the things that we do get asked quite often. One, like the tech is completely all ours. So we've built this tech from scratch over the past 3.5 years. Like Blake said, the part of that, what we've done in the past has been, that trial and error of figuring out the model, figuring out how things are going to work. So now we're ready to scale. And also, I really want to kind of touch on those partnerships, and then that is a massive part of the business. When we have those advertising partners come with us directly, we can also do things such as EDMs, pushes, and everything else to help monetize that user base, which again allows us to continue to pay out those rewards. I also just want to touch on those two big problems as well whilst I'm here. So these are the two main things that MyDriveHero is fixing with our ecosystem. One, obviously, it's the road safety. Something that a lot of our users didn't know before they started using the app is that road safety is the leading cause of death for people aged 5 to 29 worldwide. And then on the other side, we're also that advertising platform. So really kind of doing a more immersive experience, really using that omni-channel advertising. When you see your brand in a different spot, it's a very easy sell for us to kind of advertise this. Do you want to be aligned with safe driving? And do you also want to have your brand in front of 30,000 people every single day that are getting cash? It's a no-brainer to advertise with us. Also, I want to touch on the users of the app. A lot of people tend to think that it's maybe a younger demographic, or maybe it's, older people, or maybe it's just Uber drivers and things like that. But as you can see by this demographic right here, we really have got a really even breakdown from about that 18 all the way up to about age 55. It's basically everyone. Our biggest demographic right now is families, but it really is everyone that sits within that 18 to 55 demographic. We tend to lean slightly towards females. Mums love to use the app, and then they also get their kids on the app, and they get their husband on the app and everything else. And then we also tend to lean towards the Eastern Seaboard as well. So we really do have everybody across the board. Blake, do you want to touch upon some of the opportunities here within the phone and app market, and then we'll kind of go on to some of our USPs?
Yeah, for sure. I'll touch on the phone and app market very quickly. By 2029, it's expected to be a $1 trillion market. So the amount of opportunity to monetize users inside of the app market is huge. Now, we have another arm to the business that we can also generate revenue on, which is the aggregate-based data for road safety. And that is a huge thing we're looking to unlock in the next 12 months. We're currently chatting with councils about how to create safer school zones, roads, speed bumps, all of this that we can provide that data opens up a whole other market outside of just the $1 trillion app market. I do just want to go back to the partnerships one quickly that you touched on, Josh, and just talking a bit about our forward partnerships. Now, a few people have said, oh, Blake, there's the big campaign Amy are doing for their driver safety thing. Well, they've had that for a very long time, and their members can use that app. Our app works no matter if you're with them or not with them, but also their massive budget that they've released for this big campaign has actually created their competitors to come direct to us for a system that combats them. And that's been really exciting for us because we've now got 2 major insurers that are in our inbox trying to tee up something that we're looking at a Q1 launch of next year. We also have a major bank. We also have a couple of other major publicly listed Australian companies that in the last 3 months have discussed about partnering with us to be a part of the reward system because they're seeing how much volume we're generating. And the difference between us and every other business that you might partner with is brand security. When you're a company and you partner with a company that is out here trying to save lives on the road, it makes your brand look safer and more secure, which is why we are starting to see that influx of major businesses coming to look to partner because they know their competitor is going to do it sometime soon, which has put us in a really good spot right now. We knew one day it would happen, and it finally has. All right. Talking a bit more about the government side and the partial exit strategy, I really want to touch on here. As a prospective investor, you obviously want to know that. Government, we are chatting with governments in multiple states at the moment. They're very slow conversations, as anyone here might have had experience with government. It's slow, but they are happening right now, which is very exciting for us because we do have the application that is able to save the government money, but also, more importantly, save lives, as I mentioned. Now, partial exit strategy. I get asked this all the time. Obviously, our investors ask this, current investors are asking this. We know that we will have an insurer, a rideshare company, a data company, or an advertising company come to us to acquire either the whole amount or a chunk of the business. In the last 12 months, we have an active conversation going with a very large publicly listed Australian company about that in the future. But at the moment, we are building shareholder value within this business, and we are not going to do that until we build it to the point all of our shareholders get a very, very significant liquidity event, and everyone that took risk on us from early days to middle days to now gets what they deserve. Now, we would love that within the next 24 to 36 months, but anyone that tells you anything in life, in business, finance, buying shares, that there's a guarantee, run the other way. You cannot guarantee those sort of things in this world, but our goal would absolutely be to, within 24 to 36, to have our first partial exit. And that would be with a company that we believe can absolutely expedite our growth far beyond our reach. And that would be something like a rideshare company or an insurer that could activate that app, boom, in one of their apps. Multiple million people come on board and the valuation spikes, the growth spikes, and we unlock multiple countries. Now, we, as a business, can go to multiple countries at the click of a finger. When we built this business, we decided to spend money on having it available to launch internationally, and that's what we did with our own money. So the app works in pretty much every major country you'd go to, and we've tried it, and it works fine. We would just need to set up a company there and turn the thing on. So we can scale very quick and for very little amount of money. Unlike setting up a whole thing over there and costing a lot of capital to launch it, it would be very, very cheap, and we could open up a brand new cohort, brand new country at the click of a finger. So that's all I'm going to go into in terms of growth opportunities. If you want to know a bit more detailed about these points here, an email has gone around to book in a Calendly link to speak with me directly to get a one-on-one meeting, one-on-one Zoom, or a call if you prefer. Please look for that email and book it in. I'd love to chat with you all directly. I think it's the best way to build a relationship with a future shareholder. But that's it from that. Josh, do you have any points you want to add, or was the next point you would like to go over?
No, I think that's really it. I think yeah, like Blake said, if you guys want to book in that one-on-one, we are trying to make the rounds as well and calling all of you. So if you see a number come up through that, on your phone that you don't recognize, it's probably one of us. So please give it an answer. But other than that, I think it's over to Tim if you've got any questions.
Yeah, if you do have, well done, guys. If you do have questions and you're in the audience at the moment, please type them into the Q&A icon there. But I'll start with there are a couple of questions coming in, but I'll to start with one from me. You've been in EOI now for about 3 weeks.
Yep.
You've spoken to a lot of people that have registered their interest. What sort of demographic are they, as opposed to your users? What sort of people you've been seeing coming through from the EOI registrants?
Yeah, it's been a massive range, to be honest. We've had everything from business owners through to people who want to own their first set of shares or own a piece of a company, to people who have been impacted by road safety. We've found there's a chunk of people there who unfortunately have been impacted by road safety and really want to back what we do to ensure other people don't have to feel that sort of pain. But the range has been incredible. Like the amount of the different cohorts of people that we've spoken to. It's we built this business. It's been bloody tough to get to this point, Tim, and to see this many people from so many walks of life want to buy shares in our company. It's a really, really nice feeling. And the chats we're having, most people are, once they chat with us, they're putting more in. They're wanting to put more in than what they initially said. So that's been lovely as well. So based on that, I think it's going to move pretty quick when we open tomorrow. But yeah, it's been a very broad range.
One of the things you didn't address was just your use of funds, where that's going to. Can you run through that for us?
For sure. Use of funds, I'm not sure if we have it here on the slide. It will be in the document tomorrow that you'll get when that comes around. Use of funds are very clear. We're at a point now where it really is around growth. It's taken a very long time to get to the point now where we can step on the gas and advertise. Most apps spend $4 to $6, upwards even up to $7 to acquire one user. Myself and Josh taught ourselves, after wasting a lot of money with marketing agencies, taught ourselves everything on Meta, everything Facebook, Instagram, Google, on how to advertise ourselves. So we don't need to waste money paying an agency to do our content. We do our content, we do our ads. We're able to spend, at the moment, we're spending anywhere from $1.90 to $2.20 for one install, compared to the average of $5, $6, $7 globally. So a lot of our investment, the largest portion of our investment, is just going to stepping on the gas to acquire multiple users, and then everything else from that. Bit more headcount, few more hours for our contractors, and a bit of operational base capital. But the predominant use of spend here is to drive MyDriveHero, unintended, as fast as we can safely into profitability and into that point where expansion becomes so quick.
A couple of key questions, Blake, on data. You talked about data in your overview presentation.
Yep.
Can you just talk through where you think you'll be in 1 or 2 years' time in relation to, say, if you take a revenue pie chart, how much of that will be? You seem like to be a data play going forward. Questions coming in around the ownership of that data. Can it be used for an insurance claim, or police, or whatever it might be? But just firstly, the revenue side of it. How big can that data play be?
Well, they say data's the new oil, right?
Yeah.
And it really is. Now, I want to be very clear right now. There's 2 types of data. There's aggregate, and then there's personal. We have no interest in personal. And in fact, if you have the app already, anyone here, you'll know you didn't really get asked any personal details. You didn't get asked your name, your address, anything like that. The reason why that's created is you're driving. We don't want you to feel as if you could receive a fine if you do something wrong. Now, we had that very early on in our piece. We asked full names. We got rid of it. Now it's a gamified username, whatever you want to set your username, to ensure that you're protected, that if you make a mistake, not that we would go to the police, because that would be a pretty useless app. That would be taken down pretty quick. No one would use it. But it's all about aggregate data. Now, how big could it be from a revenue perspective? Like I said, they say data is the new oil, and it will be the largest part of our business. But at the moment, Tim, I'm not going to sit here and lie to anyone directly on a Zoom and say we know exactly how much we're going to get paid for that. It is something very early on. We've now got the volume that it's even going to be worth something, and we're just starting to explore. We're chatting with local councils throughout Victoria about what that would look like. So I can't sit here and say exactly what it would be, but we all know how much data is worth. Our data is super granular, and we also are chatting with some out-of-home agencies about them being able to see just how many times a random person saw the billboard, how long did they see the billboard for. It would give them more accurate data to then price to their clients. It's got nothing to do with the individual. It's purely the time, movement, and distance that they don't get that level of granularity that we have.
Understood, and well answered. Moving on to expansion, you mentioned in your presentation around the ability to, to a certain extent, flick a switch and you're live in other countries. Where do you see those first countries being in your overseas expansion, and what will that take, and maybe a timeline as to when that will happen?
Yeah, so it's a really, really interesting question. We actually just got back from Dubai not long ago. We had a little look over in the UAE to see, we're meeting some investors over there, but we're also having a look at, could it be really relevant over there? They have terrible road safety. And there's a lot of drivers, a lot of things going on. Probably not right for us just yet, but I think the easy win is New Zealand. We have some phenomenal contacts already in New Zealand. We already have some shareholders that have some big connections in New Zealand. Moving over to NZ, really just using it as a test case when we move over. How quick can we get that up to scale? But I think what we've really been looking at is a Southeast Asia play because of the economics over there. They're a very phone app heavy place, and the driving is bad. Road safety needs to be better there, but also being able to pay people there with the economy being so bad, I think it could be an absolutely perfect play. And it also would millions of people we could acquire at the click of a finger. And also we've done some studies in their marketing over there, and it's Australians can be a little bit more pessimistic in the way of, if it's too good to be true, they won't go for it. If it's not good enough, they won't go for it. Over there, it's a little bit more direct. It's a little bit more like, do this. So being able to market should be far easier from our research over there. But NZ first play with the potential to go Southeast Asia. Europe, UK is also one, and US is one. We have shareholders that actually have businesses in all of those currently. So it would just be at the right time. But I'd say NZ would get us our first win to show that scalability. Yeah,
it seems like a logical location to go for. Just you spoke in your presentation, a couple of questions coming in around this. Your biggest challenge in the last couple of years in order to get traction, how hard has that been? You talked about sort of an inflection point 12 months ago. What caused that, and what's that sort of learning for you going forward in the next, you think you've said you've grown 300% in a year. Will that continue on? Can you sort of give us a bit of a look through on that for us?
Yeah, cool. Can you just go back to the start of your question? You asked a few questions in there. Was it the problems we had 24 months ago?
No, it was more about, how did you go about getting traction, your biggest hurdle to getting traction? And that was like a year ago.
Yep. Do you want me to go through that, Joshy, or do you want to rip in here?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the biggest difference is the fact that now, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'd just say the biggest difference is that now you get cash. That was our biggest thing. So it used to be, like Blake said, the previous versions of the app would be you drive and you earn points, and then you redeem those points for discounts, or you redeem those points for giveaway vouchers and a bunch of other things. And around about 16 months ago now, we made a massive change to the app. We made it so you drive and you earn cash, and also your trips are recorded automatically. Those are the two big changes we made to the MyDriveHero ecosystem, and that really helped with our traction. Now the app's a lot easier to use, and through that, it also got us on the news. As you can see here, we've got a little highlight video of kind of all of our news segments and things like that. But through that, we got a bunch of traction with the news. We also did a double cash to combat a double demerits play over Christmas. And it also got a bunch of partnerships and things off the back of that as well. So that's the big change that we made about that 16 months ago that really improved that traction and got more users into the app and also made them stick.
Yeah.
So just on that, Josh, just what's deemed to be, question coming in, deemed to be unsafe driving? What does the app deem to be unsafe driving? I'm in a 60 zone. I think Blake, you mentioned like 64 or something. I mean, what's it? What do you need to go over to lose the money? Can I make a right-hand turn? Does it can tell that it's a no right-hand turn?
Right. So we only do the two biggest killers on the road: speeding, distraction. We don't do the whole braking, acceleration. Okay. Now Maybe one
Okay.
day we might expand into having the cameras on the dashboard to check your eyes
Understood.
falling asleep. But we focus on the two biggest killers in the road. If we can really nail them, we could drop road incidents by
And what's
60%.
speeding? If I'm in a 60 zone, what do I need to lose my money?
Okay, so if you're going 63, you will start getting pinged. We used to be 65 to allow for a buffer with the phone. Too many people were getting away with bad trips. We've dropped it to 63. It'll sit at 63 for a while, and then we'll bring it down again. Because at the end of the day, there's no reason why you can't go 59. If you're in a 60 zone, there's no reason why you can't go 59. There's no reason why you can't go bang on 60 and stay there. You don't need to go 61. You don't need to go 62. But it's every speed. It's not just one speed zone. So how we track safety is every speed zone, 40, 30, even car parks, 10s. We get people that are doing 40 in a 10-kilometer car park, and they come back to us and they go, why did I get penalized here? It's a car park. There's kids walking around. We've got to be safe.
Yeah.
And then just a question in and around advertising. It was spoken previously in meetings throughout this campaign around how I think you had a really interesting comment which stuck with me, that the TAC or someone like that, or what it is in New South Wales, the equivalent, advertisements where it's car crashes, etc., doesn't seem to cut through. Everyone's sort of fatigued by that. But you said you sort of found a cut through as to what's really resonating with people when it comes to road safety, and hasn't been some of the campaigns that the commissions have been running out.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you brought this up. I say something all the time that it can sound very controversial when it comes out my mouth, but I don't care if you're using MyDriveHero. I don't care if you individually are passionate about road safety or if you care at all. If you care about your money and the amount you want to earn, which is why you're using the app, to get more of the money for yourself selfishly, you have to drive safer. So instead of me trying to change your mindset, to change your way of thinking, like trying to change someone's belief system, all I'm going is, okay, no problem. You're selfish for you. That's fine. Everyone lives however they want to live. But to get more money for you, you need to drive safer. So if you love road safety, great. That's amazing. If you don't, and all you care about is your money, that's also great, because to do both of those in the app, it is creating safer roads. So instead of trying to scare you, instead of trying to change your mind or make you fearful, there's enough fear in the world right now. There's enough stress and anxiety and turmoil. We don't need any more of it. We just need a little bit more positivity in life and a little less stress. So we'll give you money. We'll give you more of it if you're safer. And if you love road safety and you want to be a part of this, just come and chat with us, and you can do some more stuff for the business. No worries at all.
And good answer. And Blake, what is the true size of the Aussie market? Obviously, there's X number of million drivers, but what do you think sort of is a sweet spot that you guys could achieve? And then would you take that to New Zealand, take it to the States, Southeast Asia, you mentioned? How big can you get? I mean, we've got investors on the line.
Yep.
Some of them are users, some of them may not be, but they're interested in investing in the company.
Yeah, for
How
sure.
big can the Australian market be for you?
Yeah, could be absolutely huge. If you put into perspective, right, when we launched, as Josh shared, version 2 to version 3, we spiked and we 10x'd everything essentially. Now we pulled $500,000 in revenue off only between 5,000 to 30,000 active users with that many people. We have 18 million drivers in Australia. We're growing by 360,000 drivers every single year. We only need a minute % of that market to essentially turn that into some really significant revenue. And then when you start unlocking Europe, US, Southeast Asia, those numbers obviously grow massively. But we can run this business extremely successfully, have a very big exit, generate really significant profits from just Australia alone. Like the lifetime value and that ROI we get on one individual user because of all the streams we have and because of the constant repeat of them coming back. You think about a TikTok and Instagram, they're getting 20, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours a day of someone's attention. That's why they can generate what they can generate. We're obviously not a social media platform, but we're pulling close to 7 minutes a day per person. The amount you can do with that is where the opportunity lies. And we at MyDriver, we have only scratched the surface of revenue streams that are yet to be unlocked. We have multiple products we're going to launch off for parents, for other businesses. we're doing a business case with a major company with a heap of drivers on the road. How do we bring out our B2B product with what we've got now, where we go to the company gives it to all the company drivers? That is all yet to be unlocked. And we're doing the sort of numbers we're doing now with only a minute percent of the country. So the opportunities right now are endless, but you're sort of getting in right now, not at the really early stage, like when we hadn't figured it out. We know our numbers. We know what we need to scale. We know what we need to get to profitability and beyond. We're at the point now where it's just all about that scale capital.
Question about how much money a typical user could earn.
Yep.
So, you fill out your insurance policy, you say you got to do, somewhere, say 10,000 to 15,000 for their purposes. If I drove all those 15,000 kilometers and did it safely, what would be my sort of earn for that year?
At the moment would be about $150.
Okay.
Right. So the average user in our app does about 1,578 kilometers. That was the last tally we did. Based on Australian data, the average Aussie does like 1,200. Ours do a bit more. So that individual, we pay $1 per 100 Ks at the moment. Now that is going to continuously increase as the company becomes more profitable and we're able to do that at scale. So we get to $2, $3, $4, etc., and we start unlocking different sorts of cohorts of individuals that would find that valuable. But yeah, 1,500 Ks a month, you could earn a perfect driving $15. Depending on your safety level, would then scale that downwards.
Okay. And then one of the things you didn't look at in your presentation was investor rewards. And for the investors online and watching this on replay, the beauty of crowdfunding is you get shares in the company, but you also get investor rewards depending upon what the company's like. And MyDriveHero is a great one for that. Do you want to talk through that, Josh?
Yep. Josh, just bringing up the slide now.
Can you guys see that screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So for the investor rewards, I think, a big part of it is obviously that premium subscription to the app. We also have, through our partners, we also do potentially the ability for some like meet and greets and different things like that. We also have a news section of the app. So you imagine that's 30,000 people every single day that get your chance to kind of be recognized for investing in MyDriveHero. It's also our partner discount. So we have a bunch of brands like those KOs, like those HelloFresh that offer us a bunch of different deals and stuff that we can offer to our investors. And then it's also getting to be a part of MyDriveHero in terms of that like investor dinner. So it really is for those bigger kind of checks that come in, it really is bringing you guys along for the journey. Something that Blake said that I think is really true is we've built the elevator and it's now time to go up to the top floor. And, we want to take you guys along for the ride with us.
Yep. Something I just want to add around those biannual directors live streams and also the yearly dinners. The yearly dinner is something like that's new and we've been wanting to launch for a while, but we've got some pretty incredible people in our network, from major sporting teams to big execs in sporting teams, and we're a part of a major entrepreneurial business network here in Australia. We will be planning on getting guests to those dinners. That would be pretty cool to meet and to learn from. So a bit more than just people eating around the table. We're going to maximize the value in those for our larger investors.
I had a question, and this is an important one because people are investing in an unlisted company. So there is no secondary market, and it's really important to understand. Second to that is the fact that, what's really important is a future liquidity event. And you touched on that, Blake, in your presentation. It seems you've got some really genuine paths to exit here. Can you just go through that again? Because I think that might have been overlooked a little bit in your presentation, but there's genuinely, I think probably you're quite unique, not that you've got acquirers or potential acquirers in probably 3 or 4 different industries. Do you want to sort of run through that for us and what you've, without sort of giving too much away, conversations you've had or where you think you're looking, and then not to give you too many questions at once, but I will add just a little bit onto that and the time frame you think of when that potential event may happen.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, as I mentioned before, ideally the goal would be 24 to 36 months from now. We would love, now it could be a lot quicker, it could be 12 months. We really, really want to push to 250,000 active users within the next 12 is the goal. 250,000 active users at the current rate right now, even if we didn't bring out any new products or any new revenue streams right now, would be a phenomenal business and would have people popping up left, right, and center wanting to buy. Now, we're going to launch a lot more things up until that point, product upgrades, revenue upgrades. But as you mentioned, Tim, we are available for a multitude of sectors, like insurance. Every person that offers any sort of insurance, perfect. Ride share, perfect. Data companies, perfect. You think of any business that has anything to do with driving as well, perfect. But I can't name the business. We have had, as I mentioned before, an active conversation with a very large publicly listed company, and there is, I'd say 98% of people on this stream have used their product multiple times, reached out to us about a potential mergers and acquisition and a purchase. Because what we have is a sexy product that brings people easily, their product not so much. So their idea was like, your product would be sexy for our product, which would bring more people, which would essentially allow us to take out full market share. So those conversations happened as we were launching this new version, and we've been having these conversations as we've been hitting new milestones, checkpoint after checkpoint. Now we're sort of at the point where we're like, wait, we're just going to keep building this value for our shareholders. So when that event does happen, it's a nice, sizable liquidity event for everyone that's put in hard work, risk, and dedication to this business. And that's just one. And like I said, the last 3 months have been, for me and Josh, after 3.5 years of being tied to this desk and not having Christmases, birthdays, none of that, just 7 days a week, to have some of these major Australian businesses, banks, insurance companies, popping up to us to be like, hey, we need to do something here. Q1, like, they're sort of pushing the pace with us, which is the first time it's flipped. We always knew the penny would drop at one day, and now it has. And a big thanks to that as well. I need Melbourne Storm has been a huge, huge play for us. We sponsored Melbourne Storm. We had all of the players using the app. We had all of the staff using the app. We even had the CEO, all the execs using the app. And we had all of the boys in advertisements, in their Storm gear, using the app, promoting the app. And the amount of youth that actually downloaded the app since that has been incredible. And we know a lot of companies out there have ESG requirements, certain targets they've got to hit for making the world better. Us doing that has allowed us to get our foot in the door with these businesses too, because we are making a difference.
Which leads us, Blake, to your pre-money valuation.
Yep.
It'll be listed in the offer document at 5.6 million Australian dollars. Can you just give some sort of clarity around that, some background to how you arrived to that number?
Wait, sorry, what did you just say then?
I said 5.6. Is that right?
No, we're 16.
Sorry, 16.
No,
sorry.
Yeah. So we were 5.6 couple years ago now.
Yes.
So we're a 16 mil valuation. A big reason we raised money. We did a round about a year ago, and we had one major investor, owns a very large company, came and took out the whole round. And that was where we set it at based on revenue, growth, technology investment, all the products that we've got sitting there waiting to release. Essentially, a lot of this stuff that is all our own built tech. We don't use anyone else's stuff. It's all built ours and owned IP. And then the jump from a 483% revenue jump in 12 months. That was what really jumped us from a 9 mil to a 16 mil. And we've already raised $250,000 at that round. So we've had a sophisticated wholesale significant investor come in and take out the start of the round, which absolutely set our round at 16.
Yeah, sorry, my fault. That was how that figure was in my head. Question then, just on if you do expand globally, trademarks and IP around the data you're collecting, is that an issue for you?
Yeah, we're already trademarked from a brand. Data will change. You're definitely right from a data side of the business. So, MyDriveHero data will need a different sort of TLC to ensure the way that we capture it is regulated for each country we go to. But the business itself, the app, everything's ready to go. The data side of it, a little bit more. Like I said, that's very early on in the piece right now. We are expanding that as we speak. And what was your other question in that?
No, that was all. The IP and the The IP
Yeah,
and the
all
trademarks.
the IP is ours. It's all ours. We're trademarked completely as a brand, colors, logos, we're fully trademarked there. But all the IP is absolutely ours. It's owned in our own domain. It's only accessible by us. It's all ours.
I
And
should.
I've only got I think two more questions. Users want to know, or the investors online want to know, just in and around your overheads. It sounds like it would seem you have low overheads. Can you sort of run through, if you did expand, is there going to be more overheads on doing that, or is it purely a tech and software play where you flick a button and away you go? Can you
Yeah,
give some
so
insight into that for us?
for sure. We this year, when January clicked over, we had two major cost of sales, right? And they were our payouts, so paying cash to people for their driving, and also the way that we had to get data to have every road speed and then turn it into our own data and then capture that. I spent about 5 months doing a direct deal with our data provider, which gave us about a 72% discount on our purchasing. So our data went from paying about 20K a month, dropped it down to sub 5K. And that's been a massive play for us, because now that we're growing quicker, that overhead is only growing ever so slightly. And our payouts, myself and Josh built a partner reward system. So how it works is you get your $1 per 100Ks if you take your money to a MyDriveHero partner. And if you spend with that partner, we then get recurring revenue of every transaction they do from then on out with that provider. So that is something we're building at the moment. So we are chatting with two major grocery providers and a fuel provider to ensure we can then bring them on as a partner, and we get recurring revenue on the transactions for fuel, groceries, etc. As you're probably aware, that's a big deal. That takes a while to get through, but they are happening as well at the moment. Our operating overheads are really low. They don't grow much. It's just the payouts. They grow with scale. But again, at the moment, we're trying to get rid of those and the providers pay for them. Again, 12-month goal. But predominantly our biggest overhead now coming after this raise is just our ad spend, our marketing ad spend. Now, I really want to touch on this. As of right now, and it's getting better as we generate better content, our ROAS on our ads is 1.12. So straight off the bat, just on our subscriptions only. So within 7 days of someone downloading the MyDriveHero app from a Meta or Google ad, they activate a 7-day subscription trial. A portion of our users go on the trial, a portion don't. And out of the people in the 7 days that go on the trial, we make back more than we spent on ads within 7 days, and then some on top. Then they get funneled into ads and they get funneled into our other revenue stream. So we can spend 100K and within 7 days have 112 back, know that we're in the clear, and then we monetize these people in other ways. So getting it to that point, Josh put a lot of work into absolutely nail every platform, the amount of hours he spent to figure that out. I don't think anyone realizes how much time he put in. But what that's done now is mean we don't rely on anyone to run our ads. We run it, and we can move as fast as we want, and we can be as smart as we want with those ads. So that's dropped our overheads incredibly this year. Now it's all about just upping the cost of sales from an ad spend, but then that ad spend comes straight back into subscriptions.
Okay, well answered. Last question before we close. Based on that answer, but also the question came in, it appears, and you mentioned about the Melbourne Storm example, just the whole notion that with your product, it seems that the more people that know about it, the more people that sign up. It's just an awareness play for you guys. And there's no viable reason not to sign up. It's good. You get money from it. It's a safer driving, et cetera, et cetera. Is that the case? You think it's just a matter of time? The more people know about it, it's just longevity, and the more awareness you play, the more meta ads. Can you give some insight into that?
Yeah, I think we've always also had like a really big organic referral rate. So, around about 30% of our users just come in organically. They're not really, obviously through Meta, through Google, through a bunch of other ways, we can track all those new users to the app. But we've always had a massive percentage of the users just come in organically. And that's just through that word of mouth. As you can, as you say, like, I'm driving anyway, why not get some cash? And it's an easy sell. And the more people that find out about us, it is a lot easier to acquire users. And then also from the news, for us as a business, we tend to see a direct correlation from every single time we get a news story, every single time we get some PR, to just a massive influx of users in the app, because it's that easy. You get that awareness out there and people just download it.
Yeah, no, well done. Well said. That's it, guys. Well answered, and thank you to everyone that's online. I'd like to sincerely thank both Blake and Josh. Great answers, great presentation, really informative webinar, and wish you the best of luck tomorrow when everything kicks off. So if you're online and you haven't registered your interest, or you're watching this in replay and you haven't registered your interest, please do so. So you are invited into the public or the private deal room, which commences tomorrow. So best of luck, and thank you all for attending, and thank you to Blake and Josh from MyDriveHero.
Thanks
so
Tim.
much.
Really appreciate it. And everyone attending, looking forward to speaking with you directly if you book in. If not, we'll be making some calls. And Tim, thanks to you and the team. You've been phenomenal to work with, and really excited to launch this tomorrow. Remember, last time we hit our minimum in 16 minutes. So
there you go.
Plan on moving.
There's a
quick
challenge.
Before, just really quick though, before we go, I've just saw Warren, your question come through with the Google phones. I just really want to answer that really quick. That is part of our upgrades that we're planning for the app. We understand that Android is currently something that we're working on really intently. I just want to make sure that I answer that for Warren, because he's one of our long-time users, and we're really super grateful for your support. It is something that we are fixing. It's definitely on that roadmap. Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.